Kedar Parikh writes, I hope I got your name right. Kedar Parikh writes, if a person is taking enough protein, let's say 150 grams, does it matter if your energy source is mainly from fat, for example, the keto diet, or carbohydrates? As far as I know from your book, fat produces more energy elements, ATP, compared to carbohydrates. And how does barbell training help mitigating the effects of high insulin after eating carbohydrate-rich food? Thank you for your question, Kadir. It is, in fact, true that carbohydrates and fat are both energy sources. They're both fuel macronutrients. And yes, it is true that fat has more energy than carbohydrate. Fat has approximately 9 kilocalories per gram of food energy, and carbohydrate has approximately 4 kilocalories per gram of food energy. However, they don't have the same power delivery. And let me explain what I mean by that. So you basically have a range of energy systems. We also talk about these in the book, which have a differential utilization of substrate. What most people are used to talking about is what's called the aerobic energy system, which happens in the mitochondria, and that is the oxidative energy system that burns carbohydrates and burns fat with oxygen. It's a true combustion reaction. It results in carbon dioxide, water, and energy. It's pretty much equivalent to the same thing as like burning wood or burning kerosene in the case of fat. And there's a wide range of power outputs that are supported by this oxidative metabolism. People who are aerobic athletes, cross-country skiers, runners, distance cyclists, and so forth, they are total experts at oxidizing fat because it can provide an extremely sustained capacity of energy, very, very long period of time. However, the power output is ultimately limited. The highest human power outputs come from the use of carbohydrate in a non-oxidative manner, and also from what we call phosphagen, or the immediate energy system. So the highest power outputs come from the so-called anaerobic splitting of carbohydrate. And that and the immediate energy system, those are the kind of power outputs that you need to support really, really high intensity training under the bar or with the prowler. You're going to be getting most of that energy from carbohydrate. You will be using fat during recovery to help support and replenish those so-called anaerobic systems. But when you're working under the bar, it's carbohydrate. It's basically carbohydrate. I would rather die than try to train heavy strictly using fat or a ketogenic diet. I know some people do it. I've tried it and it was not fun. In terms of your second question, how does barbell training help mitigate the effects of high insulin after eating carbohydrate-rich food? Well, actually, not just barbell training, but any sort of vigorous exercise helps mitigate the effect of high insulin after eating carbohydrate-rich food, because one of the things that happens when you exercise vigorously is that insulin secretion is turned down and insulin signaling is turned down. Glucose uptake from eating carbohydrate-rich food into muscle during exercise is relatively insulin-independent. And so your muscles become big glucose sinks. They just suck it right up and don't really need a lot of insulin signaling to do that. Glucose uptake into muscle during exercise is relatively insulin independent. So exercise itself is a great way to decrease serum insulin and increase glucose uptake at the same time. It's good for you.